How do you come back from the worst mistake of your life? Is there even a way back from such a catastrophic failure? Those are the questions of Simon Peter's heart now that he's at home in Galilee. It's been a while since the resurrection in Jerusalem, since the risen Jesus appeared to Simon Peter and the other disciples. It's long enough that Simon Peter has to stop and count how many weeks it's been. He shares in the others' elation, at least outwardly. But he is carrying a secret shame. The others don't know what Simon Peter did on that awful night of Jesus' trial. How, while the high priest was questioning Jesus, Simon Peter had been let into the courtyard. He was warming himself at a charcoal fire with the police and the slaves of the high priest. 3 times they asked Simon Peter, "Are you one of this man's disciples?" And 3 times Simon Peter denied it. He regretted it almost right away. At the moment when Jesus most needed a friend, Simon Peter had flaked out on him. No matter how Simon Peter tries to justify his actions to himself, he was scared and alone. He thought Jesus was finished. He was trying to protect himself. He knows just how badly he failed his friend. The other disciples heard Jesus predict that Simon Peter would deny him, but none of them had been there to hear the words leave Simon Peter's lips. And he's glad of that. They don't need to know the worst thing Simon Peter has ever done. He can pretend to the others that everything is fine. But surely Jesus knows. Jesus knows everything. And Simon Peter knows. In the weeks since that awful night, Simon Peter has resolved that he will never again deny Jesus or any other friend. These days, when people ask him, "Are you one of his disciples?" he replies, "Yes, yes, I am." Simon Peter would give anything to go back to that night around the fire and give a different answer. But there's no way to change the past. Even if Jesus might forgive him, Simon Peter is not sure he can ever forgive himself. Simon Peter is back to his ordinary life, so he does what he does on every ordinary night. He goes fishing. He is a fisherman after all. His fishing friends among the disciples go with him. They clamber into the boat in the darkness, row out into the lake, and spend hours throwing their net into the sea, then hauling it back again. They catch nothing, not even a manky old sandal. Tired and discouraged, the disciples head back for shore. While they are still out in the water, dawn breaks and the light of the world stands on the beach. But the disciples don't recognize him, not yet. Jesus calls to them, "You have no fish, have you?" And the disciples reply, "No." He urges them to cast their net over to starboard, and they'll find some. They look at each other and shrug. They were just fishing over there and caught nothing, but it seems worth a try. So the disciples toss their net into the lake one more time, begin dragging the net back towards the boat. The net is so full of fish that all 7 disciples working together cannot haul it over the side. They leave it in the water to tow it to shore. The disciple Jesus loves makes the connection first. 6 stone water jars, each holding 20 or 30 gallons of the finest wine. 5,000 people eating their fill of only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And now a net overflowing with large fish. Only one person he's ever known provides this kind of overwhelming abundance. Who else can the man on the beach be? It's Jesus. With joy, the disciple tells Simon Peter, "It is the Lord." Simon Peter's hidden shame wells to the surface, and he freaks out. He's not ready to face Jesus, not yet. In panic, he thinks, if I jump out now, I can swim over to the next beach and avoid him. Wait, I'm naked. Better put on my clothes so I don't have to come back to the boat for them. Before anybody notices what he's doing, Simon Peter throws on his tunic and hurls himself into the water. He swims a few strokes and then stops, bobbing gently in the lake. The risen Jesus keeps appearing. This is the third time now. Simon Peter is going to have to see him eventually and beg forgiveness. Might as well get it over with. Mentally steeling himself for what seems like it'll be the most devastating conversation of his life, Simon Peter turns around and swims to the beach. The other disciples have made it there first. They've left the boat and are standing around a charcoal fire Jesus has built, mouths watering at the smell of grilling fish and fresh bread. Jesus says, "Bring some of the fish you've caught." Simon Peter seizes the opportunity to delay. He says, "I'll get them." It takes all his strength to drag the net and all those fish onto the rocks. His arms and shoulders are burning when he finally drops the net, but that's nothing compared to the dread clenching his chest, making it hard to breathe. Jesus offers the disciples breakfast, taking bread and fish and giving them to his friends. The others fall on the food with the hunger that only an entire night of hard labor can produce, but Simon Peter can't manage more than a mouthful or two. His stomach is churning. What can he possibly say to Jesus? And how bad is it going to be when Jesus answers? Finally, the meal is over. Jesus has noticed that Simon Peter isn't eating, and also that Simon Peter won't meet his eyes. From across the fire, Jesus says, "Simon, son of John," and Simon Peter looks up. He can feel the blood draining from his face. Jesus asks, "Do you love me more than these others?" There was a time before, around another charcoal fire, when Peter said, "No, no, Lord, I do not love you." But here, over another charcoal fire, he can make a different choice. Simon Peter nods, his mouth dry, and says, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus says, "Feed my lambs." Again, Jesus asks, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Again, Simon Peter nods and says, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus says, "Tend my sheep." A third time, Jesus asks, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Simon Peter doesn't know how to answer. Is this how it's going to go? Jesus asking the same question over and over again? Simon Peter knows he has not earned Jesus' trust. He's messed up too badly for that. But he can't see the point of going round and round like this. He blurts out, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus says only, "Feed my sheep." And suddenly, Simon Peter can hope. He had thought that maybe he'd changed, and here's the proof that he has. He's making a different choice this time. 3 times he denied Jesus. 3 times now he has undone that denial. And Jesus is revealing to him how he can make amends. Simon Peter was lost, like a lamb who wandered away from the flock. And Jesus came to this beach in Galilee to find him. Simon Peter can be a shepherd like that for others who are far from Jesus. Not like a hired hand who runs away at the first cry of a wolf, but as a good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. And when Jesus goes on, talking about Simon Peter being led where he does not wish to go, Simon Peter realizes that he's not scared anymore. He denied Jesus because he was afraid that he too would have to die. Now that Jesus has been raised from the dead, his disciples can accept death and the resurrection life that will surely come to them. Simon Peter really has changed. It turns out there is a way back. And without knowing it, he's been walking that way back all this time. How do you come back from the worst mistake of your life? Is there even a way back from such a catastrophic failure as Simon Peter's denial? Yes, because Jesus is the way. Making a way where there seems to be no way is not only what Jesus does, it is who he is. And the way back that Jesus offered to Simon Peter is the same way back that Jesus offers to us. To recognize and admit the harm we have caused, begin to change, make amends for what we've done, and when we're faced with similar choices again, to do things differently the next time. Over time, with God's help and the abundant grace of Jesus, we become people who are less likely to cause harm in the future. In the era of cancel culture, we human beings often want to place others beyond redemption. Then we're afraid that we might be beyond redemption. So we get defensive and resist admitting our mistakes and sins. But no one is beyond redemption. There is a way back for Peter. There is a way back for Judas, if Judas wants it. So there is a way back for us too. The light of the world, the Good Shepherd, is waiting on the beach to take us there. For he is the way.